What's going on, everybody? We back at it again with another banging video. So in today's video, we're really just gonna be talking about identifying key support and resistance in the market. I'm gonna be doing this on Euro USD. It is the middle of the week, so just to take a look at kinda how that kinda looks. I'm not gonna like redo my charts because I've already put my chart work in for this week, and I like my zones. I don't really feel like remarking them all up. Um, but just kind of this one's a little bit choppier, not choppier, but a little bit messier. I got a lot more zones. There's a lot going on in the market, so I identified a lot more zones than I normally would. But we're gonna take this GU. We're gonna keep it really plain, really simple, really straight to the point on identifying key levels of support and resistance, which also tie into quarter point levels, whole number levels, things like that. So we're just gonna get right into it. Start off on a weekly. Get a zoomed out picture here, right? Um, and so let's remember that our market structure, higher highs, higher lows, and lower lows, lower highs, act as support and resistance zones as well, right? That's a key thing to keep in mind whenever we are identifying markets. But honestly, when it comes to identifying a support area or a resistance area, what you're looking for is an area where price is rejecting from multiple times and just either rejecting from the bottom, bouncing off, or rejecting as kind of like a ceiling, right? So one thing that kind of helps you is one thing you can do is like get a line chart, right? Get a horizontal line and just drag the line to where you see multiple rejections of a certain price. Like typically I start off at the bottom, like okay, start off here, we see multiple rejections at this bottom here. Um, and this is like one of the simplest ways to do it. Like when I started off as a beginner, right? Just taking these lines and identifying where, okay, it's like where are you seeing multiple rejections, going back to, you know, your candlestick chart, just seeing like, okay, we see if we look in on this, we'll be able to see like, okay, this was a support area, this was a resistance, right? It's pretty easy to see. Had multiple touches here, rejection here before it broke, end up breaking through. Zoom back out. Um, and then you just do this throughout the chart, right? And this is where, like in our last video, I was talking about the line chart can come really in handy, um, like this area here. And sometimes, and now I want to let you know, like in these support and resistance, they're not going to be a straight line. More than likely, going to be zones, right? So you'll be drawing a box, things like that. But just for beginner papers, like just initially starting off with just a line chart, right? Makes it simple, and then once we identify these areas, that's when I typically tend to draw my box above it. So just like, okay, seeing a rejection here, price broke above this level, right? Retested support. Sure, if we went to the candlestick, we could probably see near rejection here. Um, and of course, these zones are from early on, so I'm not expecting these zones to be, fully accurate all the way down the line. Just identifying little things, right? Higher highs, higher lows, higher high, higher low, higher high. You can probably even put a line here in this general area, right? And this is where it would be like a general consensus area of not just a straight line, right? Resistance here, double top. And you also can have support and resistance with diagonal lines. So kind of see that here. Got multiple rejections from this line. And honestly, I'm not going to lie to you guys. It's really just going to take time. Spending time on the charts, your eyes are going to get a lot easier at identifying these certain support and resistance zones and things like that. And now you see I'm not really identifying yet the quarter point levels, which make it a lot easier. Like, okay, taking this area, and y'all know I love my quarter point levels, right? Just using these whole number levels is a really good identifier, right? We're seeing these levels, and if you look back, you see like, okay, even though it broke above, we can see market retested kind of here. Tested resistance, broke above it, support. Came through it, kind of bounced off of here, right? So we're seeing the general area on where these prices are holding, right? you just got to get your eyes used to it. Just got to get your eyes used to it, right? Another resistance level here, or you see multiple rejections to the upside. 1, 2, 3, broke above it, retested. And this is where understanding how to read market structure, like your higher highs and higher lows, you'll understand that a lot of times these levels are your support and resistance, right? So resistance, broke above it, retested support. You see right now I'm just doing a broad base, I'm not using the quarter point levels. And typically what you'll want to do is kind of find the nearest quarter point level to that area, but I'll get in that in the quarter point video. Right, so just looking like, okay, you can say this is on here, right? Resistance, broke above it, retested support, broke below, hit this level again, kind of had a reaction here, and then before it moved back up. Here we have another resistance area, line chart, kind of had a diagonal support. Another resistance area here. Another support area here. Alright. Let's see if you kind of drag this out, you'll see this kind of acted. This support again, double bottom here, right? So we see this level, this 1.25 flat acting as support, kind of getting diagonal vibes from this area here. It's a little movement in there, nothing too crazy. I'm just looking for like key support and resistance areas. And this one you can honestly do something like this. Alright. So we see resistance, broke above, support, 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 broke below, retested resistance. So you see how I'm like identifying these levels here. We're not doing anything too crazy. Like it just takes time. Like literally that's all it takes. It just takes time, spending time on the market, spending time on charts. The more time you spend on charts, the more you'll be able to identify different levels and things of the matter. So it really just takes time. That's literally all it takes, right? You just got to get used to being on the charts, being in the market, and just identifying certain levels. Now, of course, I'm not drawing these like perfect. For the general sense, this is to give you that general idea of how we do these things. Because no matter what, it's going to take you time. Like you're going to have to get used to certain things before you're able to really identify these levels and things like that. So, right, so identifying, like once you're able to identify certain areas, certain zones, you'll be able to identify the support and resistance, right? You'll be able to identify the channels and just how different, how price reacts to different areas, right? So you see, we just kind of ran through identifying a lot of random little areas, but you see how we're looking for where price is rejecting multiple times. And a lot of times if you draw these levels out, you'll see like price respects these levels over the long term, especially when they've never been broken, things like that. So it all comes down to getting used to the markets, right? Getting used to whatever you're trading, no matter what you're trading. You want to spend time on it, especially if you're a beginner. You don't want to hop around from chart to chart to chart to chart, right? I did that a lot, right? And just like trying to trade every single thing. No, you want to get real specific. Like if you look at my trade list, DXY is not even a tradable asset, but since everything that I trade correlates with the DXY, it is something that I trade heavily, I look at heavily, right? So once you get locked in, you want to get locked in, right? That's the key to identifying anything, understanding anything in these markets, is getting locked into whatever it is you're trading. So even though like to you this might seem crazy, right? Like you see the lines, you say like, oh wow, there's a lot going on. But in all actuality, it's like really quite simple. especially when you look at what is going on. If you look at the breakdowns, like the weekly breakdowns, you see like every time I draw a zone, my zones are made there for a purpose, and I draw them specifically because I know that if price moves in a certain direction, these are going to be the reacting zones that is going to hit. Like, let's take for example DXY, since we're right here, right? We go to like the 1 hour. So majority, literally all these zones were drawn from last week. But if we look, boom, we see, okay, price came back up to this level, reacting zone. Why is this level here? Because we see resistance, right? Support, broke above, uses support, resistance, right? Boom, ended last week, came back up, in the end of last week, came back up, used it as another resistance. Came right down to this level. Where do we identify this level? Okay, this level came from just looking at previous price structure. Looking at the congestion that we had in these areas. Boom, boom, boom. Resistance, broke above it. Uses support. So you want to look for areas where price is continuously rejecting from an area, right? Either bouncing from the floor or bouncing from the ceiling. And these are the areas that you want to keep your mind on and keep paying attention to. Now, in the weekly overview, I said, okay, like even though this is a major support zone, I said, okay, price is going to want to come down and grab liquidity. How did I understand that? Is just because I understand DXY, because I spend so much time on it. And once you understand what your trade and the market it revolves around, you'll be able to understand certain things like, okay, when price needs a liquidity grab to move higher, when price needs to break through a support, or when the price wants to break through a resistance, and things like that. That gets a lot easier when you lock in on certain things. Right. So boom. And when we look at this area here, this 13500, you're probably wondering like, oh, where did this come from? This area came from, look, if we zoom out, let's just go to 4 hour. And we can look here, just boom, these wick rejections as resistance, or my bad, support, breaks below, use it as resistance, right? We look, ooh, kind of breaks above, look, boom, little support, breaks below, boom, resistance, boom, resistance, right? So we're seeing, and even if we look at it today, we're seeing like, okay, price neared this area and it's still testing it, using it as a resistance, even if it's giving us a lower low, right? Like we seen we had a lower low, right? We still see like it's respecting certain areas. So you have to be able to identify these certain areas in price, because being able to identify these areas will literally save you so much time. Lock in. That's the best advice I got for you for any trader. Is identify your area, identify your market that you like, that you enjoy, that fits your time schedule, a trading session that works with you, and lock in. Don't try to trade 100 pairs and all that. No, lock in. And once you lock in, you'll be able to identify certain things, how it makes patterns, how it breaks out of patterns, how it forms its candlesticks. Everything will become a lot more clear to you as you lock in on individual things, right? And you don't break that. Like, find a pair. If you're a beginner, find a pair, lock in on it for 2-3 months, a month or two, right? All right. Like, you want to give yourself time to really understand the fundamentals of it, understand the dynamics of it, and understand just how market works and functions in itself. This is a really crazy time. I'm not gonna lie to you, to learn how to trade. There's so much controversy, so much fear, so much speculation going on in the markets right now. But if you can tackle this market right now, if you were able to trade in like 2020, 2021, 2022, like these years right now are going to build the best traders because of what has been going on constantly in the markets, right? There's constantly heavy impacting things. So being able to identify certain things will allow you to level up your trading to a whole different level. So that's all I got for you guys today. Lock in. Don't trade 1,000 pairs, right? Get a real sound foundation and understanding of market structure, your higher highs, higher lows, how to read it. I know we all see the chart where it looks perfect, where it's just like boom, 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 boom. And don't get me wrong, it will kind of look like this, but this is perfect market structure, right? 9 times out of 10, your market structure won't look like this. So you have to get used to the wiggle room that it takes in understanding and identifying market structure. and the fundamental aspects that can push and drive your market as well, right? So that's all I got for you guys. Peace.